Since Biden got into office, I have seen almost nonstop from blue check marks repeating this same lie over and over again. We saved democracy. We voted out a dictator. You don't vote out dictators. That doesn't happen. I'm sorry to burst your celebratory bubble, but that is not reality. That's not how this works. History shows that that doesn't happen. Stalin was leader of the USSR until his death. The USSR was a democracy. Germany. Hitler won a democratic election that put him in power in Germany, and then he was there until his death, largely because he removed democracy shortly thereafter, I believe. Mao Zedong is actually a really great example of what probably would have happened in this sort of situation that they have fantasized in their head. Mao Zedong was the first president of China before they had a constitution, and then when they got a constitution, he did not run for president anymore because he had been there for more than effectively a term and a half, and they did the 2 terms thing just to pretend that they're a democracy like we are. We in the US, I mean. And instead of being the president, he just remained the commander-in-chief of the armies, the head of the CCP itself, and a couple of other high-ranking positions that made him the de facto leader of China rather than the elected leader of China. Which, I guess he learned from history that sometimes it's better to hide in the shadows if you're going to do horrible genocides of your own people. That all 3 of those have the same thing going here. They all died in power. None of them were ever voted out. They all remained at the top until the top was gone. And this would be the case if Trump was a dictator. Here in the US, we have given our executive branch, the presidential branch, so much power over the last few decades that if Trump was to declare himself a dictator and assume direct control, he could have. Now, you would have had a lot of people fight back against that, and I'm pretty sure you would have had a good chunk of the military fight back against that too. Because of the authority we've given the president, though, and especially because this was a populist president, you would not have seen the kind of pushback that people are expecting of a dictatorial takeover. So this would have probably succeeded, which should tell you how mind-boggling it is when I keep seeing people, we voted out a dictator. Or keep seeing people saying, we voted out a dictator. You don't. That's not how that works. Now, I'm not willing to say that that has never happened in history. I'm pretty sure there's some small third world country where that has happened because the dictator knew, well, it's either get out now or they are going to do the France special on me. But those are the exceptions to the rule rather than the rule itself. The rule, especially for larger countries like the US is that dictators stay until they die. It's just one of these things that really, really annoys me because it shows either you have no idea of how history works or you are trying to make some sort of revisionist history. I get really annoyed by it. And I'm not saying you have to have liked Trump. Hell, You can have hated Trump. You can have hated his policies. You can have hated how brash he was. All that sort of thing. That's not a dictator. It's the same thing when Obama was said to be a dictator before he left. Spoiler alert, he left, so he wasn't a dictator. It's the same thing when Bush was said that he was a dictator before he left. Spoiler alert, wasn't a dictator. And I really didn't like Bush. So saying that Trump is a dictator, and this time it looks like they're genuinely meaning and trying to get it into the history books that Trump is a dictator, is mind-boggling to me. It's this same vein where Nazi no longer means Nazi. It has been overused so much that Nazi basically has become stinky poo-poo head that I don't like. Which is terrifying. Destroying the word dictator is not a good idea in the long run. I don't care how much you dislike Trump. Just invalidating the word dictator is going to backfire on you tremendously. Much like it backfired with sexist, racist, Nazi, white supremacist, etc. So, I'm just asking you, for the love of God, stop saying you voted out a dictator. You didn't. The fact that a president was complaining about a rigged election rather than rigging an election should show that you voted out a person, not a dictator. That's how that works. Okay? Just have some common sense for a few seconds and stop the insanity. I'm asking too much, I know, but still, give me something here. This has been Math Machine, once again complaining that words still mean something in this age, and all the good that does me when even the fucking dictionary changes these things on a moment's notice to appease their fucking politically correct overlords. That's another tangent for another day. Peace out.